What if 1 billion people across the world practiced emotional intelligence, or even just in Europe? Whether you are in Sweden, Spain, or Slovenia, or somewhere in Europe, come and join us for another 6 questions about 6 seconds in the Netherlands. And today, my special guest from the Netherlands is Gerty. Gerty, please introduce yourself.
Hi, David. Thank you for having me. My name is Gerty Smit. I am a network leader for 6 seconds in the Netherlands. I'm an EQ practitioner, a trainer coach, and I work with emotional intelligence now for, I think 5 to 7 years
Amazing.
actively. So that's who I am.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining us today on this series of 6 questions for 6 seconds in and the Netherlands. And I'd like to ask you our first question. So, how is EQ as a topic seen in the Netherlands?
Yeah, this is an interesting question, and also I think an interesting answer, because I feel that, and what I see in organizations is that EQ is being perceived as very important. All the human skills are important to understand people, to work with people, and it is the basic skill you need to be a good leader. And I work with leaders a lot, so that's what I see. But what I also see is that most people perceive it as something that other people could learn, but they already know about a lot. So
Mm,
they want to teach others how to become more emotionally intelligent. But if you say, okay, but what can you learn? What could be your process here? Then say, yeah, well, I'm quite okay, and I have good listening skills, or I'm perceived as a good leader.
mhm.
So I think there's a lot to gain still
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
our country, in organizations. Yes.
Okay. That's interesting, which ties nicely to question 2 in the sense of what opportunities have you had to bring EQ perhaps to universities or schools or
Mhm.
different workplaces?
Yeah. Well, right now I'm still working at Hotel School The Hague. That is a bachelor and master program for hospitality management. And I try to integrate EQ into the curriculum. One of my main topics there is change management and relationship management. So EQ elements or competencies are on the program in a large scale. And I'm also a network leader since a couple of years for 6 seconds. And I organize EQ cafes, until now online only, to explore certain topics. It's on the direction of 6 seconds. And we have every year 3 topics that are related to emotional intelligence, to share experiences, to learn together, and to develop the skills. I'm also involved in other training programs where emotional intelligence skills are being yeah, developed.
Mhm.
And I'm part of a new course in emotional intelligence, also in a big training program. So I do have a lot of opportunities there. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. And do you run the EQ cafes in Dutch or in English?
I only have been doing them in English right now. I have a very international group of people that are part of it.
Mhm.
I do have questions for people to do it only in Dutch because it's easier to express in Dutch.
Yeah.
But I'm still trying to find the best way to do that. Online is
Mm,
not the best way, I think,
that
but
makes
I
sense.
haven't been in the setting yet that I had a real live Dutch only EQ cafe
Fair
organized. But
enough. Well, that
that's
could be
on the
coming,
agenda.
yeah, on your agenda for
Yeah,
2025, perhaps. So
yeah,
for those watching, I think Hattie would be your person of contact then to really find out if you're interested in it, and pushing pushing you to do one in Dutch could be a lovely thing. Thank you.
yeah.
So the next question is, which skills or competencies of EQ do you think are most needed right now? And this is your opinion, of course, but what have you
Yeah.
noticed those you teach?
I think there are a couple of things popping up if I look at the people that I meet, or if I look in general in how in the Netherlands we live together and work together. Of course, all the competencies are important because I believe in the balance of the whole thing. But increasing empathy is my first one. I see that if you create a setting where people try to understand each other, try to get into each other's shoes, not being very judgmental, but really look for what is there or what could be there, getting into the connection, that increasing empathy is a very important one. And next to that, exercising optimism is also one of the competencies that I really value, because it looks for opportunities instead of looking at the things that are not right, but it looks for alternative ways to get into a better space together. And navigating emotions is also an important one, because then you take control over how your own feelings are at the moment, so that you can step over it and get into more effective behavior.
Yeah.
Those are the three that I would pick right
Okay.
now.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. And every country is a little bit different. So this is part of a series where we're looking at multiple
Mhm.
countries across Europe where we have representatives. So thank you to know what specifically in the Netherlands could be helpful.
Mhm.
Speaking about your own journey now, as you said, you've been with us for 5 or 6 or 7 years now. So what's your favorite way, or has been your favorite way, to develop your own EQ from what you've learned and practiced? If there's a particular activity or something that's really resonated with you.
What for me really works well in learning is that I observe or read a lot about things, and that I then start to practice. And so
Mm,
it's practicing, but also in reflection. So I try to think about, okay, how does this work for me?
yes.
And what do I see? What could be different, or what could I do different? And then I ask around. And what I really like about the EQ cafes, for example, is that you share your experiences and your learnings, and that you learn different perspectives as well.
Mm,
And I feel that that broadens my own perspective very much. So, and reading, well, it's for some people very old fashioned, but I like to study and read, because that gives me a broader perspective as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love reading myself. What's one of your favorite EQ books? Do you have one that you recommend for those watching?
I was looking for the title, because am not good at keeping track on titles. But I read a book on intercultural impact on EQ, and
Mm,
how it really defines where you're coming from and what your education has been interculturally, and how that impacts your emotional intelligence.
yes.
I'm trying to find the
Is that
writer
by the
right
Dutch
now.
author?
Sorry,
Is that by the Dutch author?
it was a Dutch author,
Yeah, her
but
name
she
is
isn't.
Between. The book is called Between Us.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
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 I've read it.
between
It's
us.
it's a great book.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that very much. And
yeah,
also, I like a lot when it comes to growth mindset, and how you can make use of growth mindset in organizations as well. And there's a big link to emotional intelligence, of course, as well.
yeah. That's
So
great. And the book by Carol
yeah,
Dweck is a
yeah,
bestseller on growth
yeah,
mindset too.
yeah, yeah.
Great. Thank you, Hattie, for 2 book recommendations for those watching. So the next question I'd like to ask you is, what has been your journey so far with 6 Seconds? I know you've done a few assessments with us, and I'd like
Yeah.
to ask an extension there about how you've applied those certifications, maybe in a specific example with the hotel school that you mentioned before.
Well, I was triggered by emotional intelligence, and then I read something on LinkedIn from your predecessor, Catherine, and we came into contact together. And then I did the Unlocking EQ course first. So it's all started with Unlocking EQ, And that really, it made me so curious and so eager to learn more. So then I did the EQ Practitioner course. And after that, the vital signs, because I was looking for an employee engagement tool as well to measure employee engagement, and the vital signs is really a nice way to use that. And recently, I did my EQ Assessor course as well, because in the end, I would love to have the total package, because I'm really eager to learn more, and perhaps I start all over again as well to keep on practicing in and learning about how emotional intelligence works.
Mhm.
So that is my way, my practice till now.
Cool. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. So we come to our final question. Question number 6. What would the world be like, do you think, if 1 billion people practiced EQ?
I think it would most certainly be a better place where people have more understanding, more patience, perhaps also with each other. Also looking into a broader purpose together, instead of everybody for his own thing. So I firmly believe that it will make the world a better place. And it's a bit naive, perhaps, or it sounds a bit naive, but we can dream, right? If that would be if 1 billion people would practice it, yeah, yeah. And I now remember, David, I forgot the most important thing. For 5, can you still do something
Sure.
with
Yeah.
that as
Yeah.
well?
So question 5, no problem. Yeah.
Because one of the things that I also have been doing is the brain profiling
Mm,
certification.
yeah.
And I'm in the middle of translating the cards we use for brain profiling into Dutch.
The Dutch.
So I want to make it ready for the Dutch market. It's a bit a pity that I forgot the first time.
It's
But
okay.
I'm waiting for the final layouts from Italy now to make it final into Dutch. So I hope before the end of the year, the brain profiling cards will be available in Dutch as well.
Great. Great. So
Yeah,
for those watching, Gerty, you are the source for the brain profile cards in Dutch. I love that. And yeah, we'd have a lot more empathy, a lot more understanding, and perhaps kindness, wouldn't we, with people practicing EQ?
yeah,
So
yeah.
before we finish up, Gerty, I'd love you to share something in Dutch, in your native language, for those who are watching, of course, from your country, who speak your language and would like to know a little bit more. So you're welcome to share some final thoughts.
Ja. Ja, als jullie meer willen weten over emotionele intelligentie en hoe je dit kunt trainen, want sommige mensen denken dat het niet te trainen is, maar dat is het heel erg wel. Neem dan contact met mij op. Ik heb hele mooie manieren om daar verder in door te werken met je. Het is echt gericht op persoonlijke ontwikkeling en leiderschap. Met name ook de breinprofielen, die heel erg bepalen hoe je vanuit welk perspectief jij naar de wereld kijkt. En hoe je daarmee als het ware kunt spelen en daar andere mensen mee kunt bereiken. Dus ik hoop je te zien of te spreken via een direct message via LinkedIn of welke sociale media dan ook. Dankjewel en hopelijk tot ziens.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Gerty, for your time. And we really appreciate that. And we'll see you soon.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. See you soon.
Thanks for watching this episode of 6 Questions for 6 Seconds In. And where will we be next time?